What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by co-host Matt Llewellyn. And today we are going to be discussing whether or not Kyle Shanahan is allergic to rookie quarterbacks. It's a funny question, Matt, but looking at his track record, he's not, he doesn't have a good record with rookie quarterbacks. What's the deal with Kyle Shanahan?
So I think that's a little bit of a misnomer, and I'll kind of explain it like this. When he was in Washington, Kirk Cousins was his guy. They were forced to take RG3 by Daniel Snyder, him and his dad, that is. And they took Kirk Cousins in that draft as well, and I think Kirk Cousins was their guy. When he got hired in San Francisco, he was just coming off that Super Bowl run with the Falcons. So you're looking at late January, early February before he can even be announced. Then you're talking about, okay, now we're at the combine, right? This was in a period too where Kirk Cousins was being franchise tagged multiple years by the Washington football team. And so for Kyle, it's like, well, I'm on a short schedule here for this 49ers team. I don't know who I have, right? I don't know who the college quarterbacks are. Basically because where I was at, we were set. He was in Atlanta. They had Matt Ryan. Why would he be scouting quarterbacks if he was even part of that process at all, as far as the scouting department? They probably weren't even looking at quarterbacks really, especially not the top end ones. And so he goes to San Francisco late February. You're talking about being at the combine already. You're talking about a position where if you whiff, you're setting your franchise back and you're tied to that guy. So I don't think that with the scouts that were here, that he felt comfortable with what he was looking for and having the scouts kind of tell him which quarterbacks were in it. You know what I mean? So he went with, you look at the early end of that 2017 draft, and it was bad all the way around. Solomon Thomas was a whiff. Their second rounder that year, I don't even remember who it was. Do you remember the second round pick that year? Oh no, it was they traded up and got Reuben Foster. So Reuben Foster obviously didn't work out. Ahkello Witherspoon, he's played, but he's been up and down and can't seem to get on the field this year. So I would consider that a whiff. Really the biggest play, Joe Williams, whiff. CJ Beathard, whiff. So you're looking at really DJ Jones, I think, was a sixth rounder that year. And then obviously the star of that draft was George Kittle. Just on a short timetable, you can't tie yourself to a quarterback. Then if you look afterwards, he's thinking Kirk Cousins can't possibly get franchise tagged for a third year in a row. I'm going to wait for Kirk Cousins because that's my guy. I know Kirk Cousins. I've mentored Kirk Cousins. I think that for better or worse, I think that he could run this offense. And coming off those years in Washington, before he got to Minnesota, it's not like everybody thought Kirk Cousins was dog. He wasn't terrible. He was a guy that you thought, okay, maybe he can do something. He was coming off those you like that seasons. He had something, right? Then they get Jimmy Garoppolo. He wasn't sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. That was a John Lynch, Bill Belichick move. But Jimmy Garoppolo showed something in those 5 games. So he's like, okay, well, I'll work with this. We're going to sign Jimmy, right? Jimmy gets the ACL. Okay, well, this is lost season. 2019 happens. We go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not the best quarterback, but we went to a Super Bowl with him. Now you see Jimmy Garoppolo again is injured and is struggling, and he's not tied to this guy. So I don't think that he's allergic to rookie quarterbacks. I just don't think the opportunity has presented itself for him to really take a deep dive. And I would be shocked if they didn't do their due diligence. We've already heard Adam Peters going to BYU for that Boise State game. I guarantee you they were looking at Zach Wilson, who I think is a tremendous fit for the 49ers offense. They're going to do due diligence on first-round quarterbacks this year. And if the opportunity presents itself to take the right guy, they're going to take him. So I don't think he's allergic. I just think that the circumstances haven't really presented themselves to kind of lend themselves to getting a rookie quarterback at this point.
I think that's a really good breakdown of it because a lot of people will say, and I might even be guilty of this too, they passed on Mahomes, they passed on Deshaun Watson, they passed on, a bunch of these guys, which mind you,
Watson is guilty. Watson 100%. You knew what Deshaun Watson was coming out of Clemson. Mahomes, I think that's hindsight talking because coming out of Texas Tech, there were definitely project questions about that. He was viewed as a project guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't especially accurate. He's coming out of a air raid offense. Somebody like I've seen articles written on what scouts were saying about him. He doesn't work under center. He doesn't do all this stuff. People were saying that under Alex Smith in Kansas City, his first year, Alex Smith had to teach him how to call plays in the huddle because he didn't know how to do it, because they had that card system that they use in college or whatever that everybody knows. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is an immensely talented quarterback. Probably one of the top two. I mean, him and Aaron Rodgers are the most physically gifted quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. But he benefited immensely from his situation. Alex Smith is a pro's pro, took him under his wing, taught him well. Andy Reid is one of the most brilliant offensive minds in the NFL. So I think that Patrick Mahomes went to a great situation. If he had gone to another place, Chicago, for instance, if they had taken him over Trubisky, and that's the thing that I always like to bring up, right? We took Solomon Thomas, who was a whiff on short, the staff had short-sightedness or whatever. What if they had taken Mitch Trubisky? Where would the franchise be with Mitch Trubisky as the quarterback? Yep. Look where the Bears are. They have Nick Foles starting, which is not good. So I think that is definitely some hindsight talking, because Mahomes was viewed as a project. And, other than Watson, there really was no sure thing in the draft.
Yeah. And I think as recent as last year, this offseason, if I remember correctly, Mahomes even went on LeBron James' HBO show, The Shop or something like that, saying that he just learned how to read defenses that year. So he definitely was a project. So I think that the hate for Kyle Shanahan for not taking him in the 2017 draft is kind of unwarranted. But I do agree with you, Matt, that Deshaun Watson's another story. He should have taken Deshaun Watson then, even if he didn't really know what he was doing with the position moving forward, even if there wasn't much time going into there. I think there was enough time for him to kind of realize, regardless of how well Brian Hoyer does, he's not the guy long term. I mean, him and John Lynch signed 6-year contracts, if I remember correctly, together. There's no way you can convince me that Kyle Shanahan was thinking, oh, Brian Hoyer is going to be here for the majority of those 6 and starting.
No.
So I think that he should have taken Deshaun Watson, but I do understand why they didn't. I think the Kirk Cousins RG3 scenario is interesting. You don't see that too often. Teams drafting multiple quarterbacks in the same draft. Yeah, especially in the first round, as high as they took RG3.
I think Cousins was like a 4th round guy, right? A 3rd or 4th round guy. I can't remember exactly where he went, but yeah.
So. It's interesting, but I think just like we've talked about Jimmy Garoppolo, it's kind of a broader picture when you look at Kyle Shanahan and quarterbacks in general, because he's kind of just, other places he was just a positions coach, a coordinator or quarterbacks coach. Now he's the head coach, and this is the first time he's had ultimate say over who's on the team. And it was kind of like, like you said, we're going after Kirk. He's even said to himself, oh, I guess we kind of got, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of fell into my hands. Well, he's played pretty well this year. I guess he's due for a contract. We have to give him market value. So it just kind of happened. But there is a quote here that I want to read for you and get your opinion on it. He was talking about mobile quarterbacks and more specifically college quarterbacks and things that he would like to see them do in the NFL. I think some of the challenges over the last, at least in my career, is you get some of these unbelievable athletes who have never had to sit in a pocket because they could just win games in Pop Warner just running around. They can win it in high school just running around. They can win Heismans and do whatever just running around in college. Eventually, you get to the NFL, and there are times that you've got to make plays from the pocket, and it's really tough. But I think that there's more and more guys coming out who have been doing both forever. When you have that, and then you've got a chance to do both, and that's why you can see that the league is finding more and more of those guys. So it seems like he's kind of turning the page, because he always kind of had a knock on mobile quarterbacks. I think now he's kind of starting to see that might be the future of the NFL, and maybe I should start being a little more open to that suggestion of possibly adding one, possibly this year in the first round.
Yeah. So first of all, let me push back a little bit on your he should have taken Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. But I understand why he didn't. Again, you're coming in on a short timetable. If you take Deshaun Watson, who, you know, for as he was as sure a thing as you were going to get in that draft, but it's not like he was an Andrew Luck level talent, right? He's not. It's not like he was Trevor Lawrence. There's still risks involved in that, and right off the bat, if you're going to tie yourself to that guy, that could be a dangerous thing. I think that he was going the route of, I can find my quarterback, whether it's Kirk Cousins or in the draft, but let me solidify one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Let me get some talent on the other side of the ball that I don't know that much about, because worst comes to worst, if I even have an above average quarterback, I can make that work offensively.
That's
Right.
fair.
So let me stack the defense with talent and I can work with offense. As far as, his quote, I think that his issue with RG3 is that, again, at Baylor, you're running an air raid, mainly option offense, RPO, all this stuff. And it's only been in the last couple of years, really, where you see a lot of these guys that can do both. You see a Mahomes that can do both. You see a Watson that can do both. You see, now a Josh Allen who's kind of coming into his own. But you have rudimentary guys like RG3, who was never really a great thrower of the football. He kind of washed out. Colin Kaepernick, not really a great thrower of the football. Athletic as hell, can do all the RPO stuff, but, for what Kyle likes to run, might not necessarily work. And to a certain extent, I think we're kind of seeing that the limitations of Lamar Jackson this year. I think that he's kind of, hit a plateau, and, he needs to really work on his passing as far as precision and going through reads and, looking beyond Mark Andrews as the primary target. If you're a quarterback and your tight end is your number one target, I don't know that you're doing it right. Especially given, you have Hollywood Brown there. Not that Des Bryant is great, but Des Bryant, there were a couple situations last week where, he's a big body receiver. Throw him something up in the end zone and let him go get it. You know what I mean? And I don't think Lamar has that kind of confidence in his ability to kind of throw from the pocket. So what I think Kyle is kind of saying is, before it was like athlete first, quarterback second, whereas now you have programs like Elite 11, and, you get these college guys in as true freshmen who are playing. I mean, and they're mobile, they can move. And you even have guys who, are being held back in their college systems. Perfect example is Justin Herbert, who I truly believe that Oregon held back Justin Herbert from. And you see now he's mobile. He has a huge arm. He makes great plays. He doesn't even look like a rookie. He looks like a fourth-year pro. I mean, Justin Herbert is so good. He's going to be the rookie of the year now that Joe Burrow's been injured. Even to a certain extent, Joe Burrow is a really athletic guy. And when you look around the league and you see firsthand, like the 49ers did in the Super Bowl, what happens when Mahomes can make a play, or you play in a division with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, where you can see they move their feet. And then you see a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who, isn't immobile, but he's not, he doesn't run at all, right? So when you look at that, it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Okay, I didn't believe in that stuff before, but having seen it so many times and knowing how effective and frustrating it can be, why wouldn't he want that? You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, all the broken tackles, all of the, running through players, sliding at the last second. Like, it's frustrating from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine Kyle Shanahan watching that and not thinking, dang, I could be really dangerous if I had that guy on my side. So,
and that's really a credit to Kyle Shanahan, and it really speaks to his young age allows him to be flexible in that way, right? If it was, back in the old school days, like when people like Joe Gibbs came back to Washington or whatever, it was like smash mouth football, let's do it this way or whatever. And even to a certain extent, when his dad Mike came back to Washington, I know we say Washington a lot. I guess Washington's had a tough run, but when you get to a certain age, you become really set in your ways. And I think it really benefits Kyle that he's so young and that he can take a look at the landscape and be like, you know what, maybe the way that my dad taught me how to do things, there's room for improvisation on the formula. I still want to run the ball, but if I can incorporate a quarterback who I can, throw out on bootlegs, or do rollouts or whatever the case may be that could really benefit this team and create an extra dimension that defenses have to worry about. I think it's a credit to him that he's recognized the flaw in his view on quarterbacks and is willing to address it and move forward. I think that speaks to how good he is as an offensive mind to recognize his own flaws and put his ego aside to go forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's a sign of a good coach and of a good, leader mainly, more generally, I should say, is that they're not, like you said, stuck in a certain way, regardless of what the facts are. They're willing to learn and they're willing to accept and possibly change their strategy and accept maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe this is a better way. Maybe I can improve if I, sub this for this. So I really liked reading that from Kyle Shanahan because I think he's got what it takes to be a really good head coach for a long time here with the 49ers. And just, he's overcome a lot of adversity in the short time he's been here, but now he's adapting and now he's, kind of molding his offense to fit the modern NFL. And that's really exciting because you see a lot of coaches, like you talked about, they just kind of get, their style gets old. They get left in the past. Teams evolve. They figure you out. So if he's able to evolve with the NFL, it's going to be scary for opposing teams. But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you like what you see, support the channel, hit that subscribe button. We are around 1,100 subscribers right now. We're very close to our goal of 4 million. So hit that like button, drop a comment below. What do you think of Kyle Shanahan and his track record with rookie quarterbacks? And do you anticipate the 49ers drafting a quarterback with their first overall pick in next year's draft?
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Until next time, guys, go Niners.